All right, let's jump right into this explainer. Over our recent sessions, we've been exploring web frameworks like Django and Flask, really digging into how Python handles requests and responses. Well, today, we're zeroing in on Jinja2. This is the templating engine that acts as the ultimate visual bridge for these frameworks. In fact, it's the exact engine that powers Flask right out of the box. By the end of our time today, you'll see exactly why separating your presentation from your backend logic isn't just good practice, it's the absolute secret to building maintainable web apps. So here is our roadmap for today. We'll start with the dynamic data problem. Then we'll cover Jinja2 core syntax, inheritance and macros, filters and the security shield, a look at the Python web ecosystem, and wrap up with some practical best practices.
Okay, part 1, the dynamic data problem.
So here is the really big question we need to solve. How do we actually mix HTML and Python without making a complete mess? Think about it. When your web application needs to display dynamic data, like a personalized welcome message using a user's actual name, or a list of products pulled directly from your database, you have to have a reliable way to combine that underlying data with your HTML structure. And you need to do all of this without causing a massive maintenance nightmare down the road.
And this is exactly why we rely on templating engines. Without one, well, you're forced into raw string concatenation. That means painstakingly constructing entire HTML pages piece by piece directly inside your Python code. Honestly, it's like trying to build a house with toothpicks. It's incredibly messy and practically impossible to maintain. But with a templating engine like Jinja2, you write what looks just like standard HTML, but with some special syntax. Your logic and your presentation stay beautifully, cleanly separated.
Moving right along to part 2, Jinja2 core syntax.
For simple, direct value insertion, it's actually pretty intuitive. You just use double curly braces containing the name of the variable you want to display. So if you wrap something like user.name in those braces, a framework like Flask or Django automatically swoops in and swaps that exact placeholder with the actual data passed in from your view the moment the page renders.
Now, you do have to carefully differentiate between just inserting values and actually controlling the flow of your template. This is a big one. While value insertion uses those double curly braces, control structures use a single curly brace paired with a % sign. This distinction is literally the foundation of reading and writing Jinja2.
Using these control structures allows you to inject basic, necessary logic directly into your HTML. For example, you can write a for loop to dynamically iterate through your database items. This lets you display a massive list of products without having to write out that repetitive HTML by hand over and over. You can also use if statements to conditionally show content, like making sure a private dashboard is only ever displayed to a logged-in user.
Next up, part 3, inheritance and macros.
Template inheritance is, without a doubt, one of Jinja2's greatest superpowers. Instead of copying and pasting your header, your menu, and your footer across every single page of your site, you use a super clean 3-step pattern. Step 1, you define a single base template with all that shared structure. Step 2, you designate blocks, which basically mark where child pages should insert their specific content. And Step 3, your child templates simply extend that base and inject their own genuinely unique content right into those designated blocks.
Beyond inheritance, we also have macros. A macro lets you define a reusable, totally self-contained chunk of template code. Think of things like a custom formatted button or a specific form field. It closely mirrors how you'd use a reusable Python function. You define it once, and then you just call it wherever you need it across your templates. It drastically reduces the amount of duplicate code you have to maintain.
All right, part 4, filters and security shield.
Let's talk about filters. Filters give you a really sleek way to transform a value directly within the template before it even gets displayed to the user. You apply them using a simple pipe symbol. So, for instance, passing a name through the upper filter converts the whole thing to uppercase letters right on the spot. Jinja2 actually includes a huge range of built-in filters for formatting dates, truncating long blocks of text, and a whole lot more.
But there's another critical feature here that brings us to a major security consideration: cross-site scripting, commonly known as XSS. This is a very well-known vulnerability where malicious user-submitted data, like a raw JavaScript snippet, is rendered by the site and then executed as active code in someone else's browser.
Thankfully, Jinja2 acts as your built-in security guard. By default, it uses automatic HTML escaping. What this means is that if user-submitted data contains something that looks even remotely like executable code, Jinja2 completely neutralizes it, displaying it as harmless, inert plaintext. It absolutely prevents the browser from executing it, which meaningfully protects your application against those cross-site scripting attacks.
Let's zoom out for part 5, the Python web ecosystem.
So where exactly does Jinja2 sit in the broader ecosystem? Well, as we mentioned earlier, it is Flask's default engine. Now for Django, it actually has its own built-in engine, but Jinja2 can easily replace it and is super popular for content-heavy Django sites. And what about Fast API and Starlet? Because they're mostly used for building APIs that just return JSON data, Jinja2 is used a bit less frequently there, but you can absolutely still plug it in whenever those projects require rendering actual HTML pages.
And finally, part 6, practical best practices. To make sure you're building robust, professional web applications, keep these 3 key practices in mind. First, take full advantage of template inheritance early on, rather than waiting for duplicated HTML to accumulate. Second, always trust Jinja2's automatic HTML escaping, only ever disable it when you are absolutely 100% certain the content is safe. And third, take a few minutes to explore Jinja2's built-in filters before you go writing your own custom formatting logic in your Python views, because odds are your everyday needs are already handled for you out of the box.
So we've now mastered rendering dynamic web pages, proving that keeping your back-end logic and front-end presentations securely separated is the hallmark of a great developer. But what if you don't want to serve up HTML at all? If Jinja2 solves our HTML problems, the ultimate question for our next explainer is this: how do we pivot back to raw data and build robust, structured JSON APIs using the Django REST framework? Answering that will perfectly close out our entire web development block. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Make sure you are subscribed, and I will see you in the next one.